Mindfulness Yoga. Today we will use a couple props in the class. I have a yoga band, which if you don't have one at home, you can certainly use a tie or a scarf or something else that substitutes, and a folded blanket. The other thing is I'd like to have our mats positioned near a wall. So hopefully somewhere in your home you have a free wall space, and we'll be using that for a couple of our postures. Hope you enjoy the class. Okay, looks like we're ready to get started, and today with the one prop, with the blanket, I'd like to try rolling it up a little bit before we get settled here. So I have it folded in a long fold, and then on the one end, I'm rolling it into like a little small roll at the end there. That looks great. And once we have that set up, there's no hurry, take your time. We're gonna lay on our backs and we're gonna have this underneath our neck, that roll. So we wanna aim for comfort here. When you lay down, make sure that that roll doesn't feel too extreme, but it should fit in the crook of your neck. So let's give that a try. Sometimes when you first get there, you can sense that it's maybe too small as well, and you can roll another time or take out a roll. So this is where we're going to begin the class, and you're welcome, before we get started here, you're welcome to remove this blanket from under the neck at any time. Perhaps the neck area gets a little sensitive from it. So take it out or fold the blanket flat, that's your choice there. Now, I'm in a neutral position. I'm preferring for my knees to be bent, but you're more than welcome to have your legs outstretched to begin with. Whatever feels more comfortable, easeful in the body. Hands anywhere you like. Before we start any movement, let's have an opportunity to get our presence tuned in a little more into how we're feeling. You're welcome to close the eyes here. And as you settle back, also take a little scan to notice if you're holding any tension anywhere. Notice through the lower body and the hips and along the length of the spine, shoulders, arms. Check in around the head and neck. As you're noticing for areas of tension, you also might notice other sensations. Letting that awareness be with you. Things will often come and go. So it's more a curiosity about how you are in this moment and just letting that be. There's no need to change or fix anything. Also check with the breath. Have a sense of how you're breathing in this moment. How does it feel? Where can you feel the breath? Our goal with the breath is to let it be natural, and perhaps let it lengthen out just a little bit. Now, as we lay in this position, we're going to first introduce a little rocking through the neck, or head and neck. So I'm simply letting my head roll a little to the left and then to the right. If you have that blanket rolled underneath your neck here, usually you can feel the sense of it creating a little bit of pressure against that upper portion there close to the skull. And in that way, you might notice it almost feels like a little light massage for the back of the neck here. You can stay with this rocking side to side, or some of you might want to even try a little bit of purposeful up and down. So it feels like the chin lifts up and down. That one may or may not feel comfortable, so you're trying things on and just going with what feels best for you. Good, and then I'm bringing this to a still point now through the head and neck, neutral position, checking in with my upper back so that it feels like the shoulder blades feel spacious across or onto the ground there. They're not crunched in, and that they feel level. And we're going to take our arms across our chest like we're hugging. Doesn't matter which arm goes on top because we're going to switch. So first side, we take a little crossing. It's almost like the elbows get close in towards one another there, or as much as you can get. And from this position, you can stay put with this hug hold, or you could try going into the eagle arm position if you know. And what I would do from there is from the elbow crook there, I just start to move the upper arms so that the back of the arms, forearms, come together, or as close as they'll go. And if you know this position, you can also do that wrap with the hands. The back of the neck here, you could be checking in and again making sure that that roll underneath your neck feels safe. Good. I will release and unhook, give it a little stretch out to the sides for a moment, and then we want to recross the arms into the hug with the other arm on top. And you can opt for that eagle arm position again if you want to try that hooking of the elbows and wrapping. All right, I'm starting to release those arms. Bring those arms outstretched to the sides. Maybe wiggle the shoulder blades in towards one another a bit now. And you can keep the arms outstretched like this, or for a slightly more noticeable stretch into the shoulders and chest, you could bend the elbows. So at a 90 degrees, looks like a cactus position with the arms. So your choice with one of those two. If your legs aren't bent, bring them into a bent position with the feet on the floor and walk those feet wide. And we're going to start doing some windshield wipers here. So letting those knees sway left and right. One hip lifts up as you roll over. A nice, slow, continuous flow here with this motion a couple more times each side. Nice. So when we're finished that, we come back up to neutral with the knees. The feet will need to walk in a bit, and then we're going to get the knees hugging in. Once again, do feel free to adjust the neck position if you need. So I've got my knees coming in, a little bit of rocking left and right to hold. Now let's see how it feels to reach the legs up from here. We're going to gently stretch them up. So I still have a bend in the knees, but the idea is to get the feet moving up towards the ceiling. If you want to hold on to the backs of your thighs, you can, or you can do it free. And we're moving our ankles a little bit here, so a bit of pointing and flexing, or you could even do some circles with the ankles there. That's it. Letting the feet come back down to the floor now. And I'll stretch the right leg out, so all the way out to the ground. In the left leg, we have the knee bent, and we're going to let that knee fall off to the side here. And the sole of that left foot comes into the inner aspect of that right leg there around the knee level. So as this left knee falls open, you're letting it go to the point where it feels like its natural stopping point. And you're noticing how your pelvis and hip are lying on the ground so that it's not shifted too much. We want to be fairly neutral here. So on this left hip or leg, this side is going to come across to the right now. So we lift up the knee. Usually the foot's off the floor a little bit now. Use your right hand to help guide that left knee over and across. Now, this doesn't have to go into a big twist. It could just be enough to take the knee across a little bit. And in which case, usually what I feel is the outer side of the hip there, maybe into the glute a bit. If you feel that urge to go a little deeper into a roll, a bit more twisting, you're more than welcome to. Let's linger here for another couple breaths, nice long smooth breaths. There we go. Roll that back. Adjust so that the back body feels straight and aligned. And we'll go into the other side, left leg long. Right knee is the one that falls out to the side now. Notice how this side feels in comparison to the left. Again, check your hips. I usually will place my hands on my hips for a moment and notice if it feels like I'm really shifted and if I need to correct that in any way. Okay, so same as the other side. We bring the knee up and pick up that foot a little bit so you can get a hold of the knee. Guide it across to that opposite side. Sensing as you go so that you don't take it too far and go to that spot where it feels like a nice place to stay. You can feel some sensation of stretching, but you're also relaxed and you can breathe easy. Okay, let's roll that back. Great, okay. So just a pause here at the bottom, getting ready to transition. We're going to roll over to our side and then help ourselves up onto the hands and knees. Just take a moment there. You won't need the blanket. Just a clear mat for this part. Good. Okay, so arriving in that tabletop position, and we are going into a little side body lean with this one. So it feels like you lean over to one side, the one shoulder moves towards the hip, and then you shift over the other way. You might feel like the hips shift off to the side a bit when you do this one. You want to visualize like you're making a C shape through your back. And this can be a slow flow left and right at your own pace here. Got a couple more. There, and then after those side bends, neutral position, and then start to tuck the tail under, belly drawing in, back is lifting up to the ceiling, open up those shoulder blades, drop that head down so the chin moves towards the chest, get that expansive feeling across the back there, and maybe a little hold while you're here, and then coming into the opposite position now, let that belly and rib cage drop down, tailbone tilts up. Shoulder blades sink in towards one another and a gentle look forward with the head and neck. And then we're moving up and down from those positions. Now you can go into a little bit of a quicker pace than I'm demonstrating. I'm coming into them and then pausing for a little moment. And sometimes when I find the pause, I'm noticing how my body's responding to these two motions. For instance, today as I move into the lowered position, I can sense that my spine feels stiffer this way today than the other one, and maybe I want to stay a little longer there. So you can make those decisions for yourself. Another thing I'll do once in a while, just like we had started with those side bends, if I come up into cat, I then do that little side shifting motion while I hold the cat stretch. It's very subtle. It's just a little leaning. These are a couple things, that offer a little bit of variation in the cat-cow. Good. But really it's about making little wiggle motions and feeling loosened up. So when you're feeling done with that, we're going to bring the hips back. So hips towards the heels, maybe the knees widen a little bit. And we're coming down in a way that feels relaxed on those hands and wrists. So maybe even coming with crossed arms or just turning the palms up as you lower. And as you find your way here, maybe even welcome in the eyes closed for a couple moments. Feel the breath come and go. Notice where the body moves as you breathe. We're going to start to lift out of this position, coming back up, and then our transition will be onto our stomachs. So let's lower down. There we go. I'm on my elbows right off the get-go here, so I'm sensing a little bit of a back arch. If this feels too high, you could cross the arms and have a more subtle back arch like this. So otherwise we're up here. And noticing that lower half of the body. So checking in from around the hip level, and then notice how your legs are postured. Ideally, we want to feel like the tops of the thighs and the kneecaps are directly pointed down towards the mat. And if you can, the tops of the feet. And there's a sense of lengthening through the legs, a little stretching back feel. This next part is optional. You could try getting a little bit more engagement into the upper body as well. So what that might feel like is a pressing down through the elbows and forearms, and a slight more lift through the chest. Feels like from the center of the chest, it's shifting forward and through the arms and lifting upwards. The head does not need to look up. You could just look straight ahead or even slightly down. See if you can create the sense of length down through the neck, and that the tops of the shoulders move away from your ears. And we'll linger one more breath here. Good. Let's lower our bodies down into a rest position on our tummies. I'm going to go for my arms crossed so that my forehead can come down. And in this position, maybe try a little bit of wiggling of the hips so that it feels like a little shimmy left and right. The point of this is to relax the low back or loosen things up and settle again. So otherwise you could just come into a bit more gentleness through the muscles and breathe into that back space. That works too. Now this next one is a fairly big move, and so we want to be really gentle with it since it's still quite early on in the class here. The first step is to bend the knees. From here, we're going to part the knees out to the side. So we're going to take one knee off to that outer edge of the mat and then the other. And our hope here is to let the feet come in towards one another. That's it. So if it doesn't feel quite right at this moment, you might need to widen the knees more. So some people get right off the mat. But what we would love to feel in this one, for a little bit of safety for the back, is that the hip bones in the front still are touching down on the floor. We don't want that to feel lifted. Now, once we have this position, if it feels like there's room to move still, you might let the feet fall towards the ground a bit more, but not at the cost of the hips lifting off the floor. And you can be moving little adjustments to open wider if that was feeling allowing in your body. And for some people, you may choose to try this next move, but maybe your body feels like it's happy right where it is. I'm coming back up on my elbows. I'm demonstrating that back arch position again while holding the lower body in this position. So this definitely creates a lot more arch into that low back. So you would want to check in and make sure that feels safe if you're trying this out. I'll welcome any time to come down that feels right for you. So I'm going to linger for another couple breaths, but if you want to stay longer or shorter, you're just listening to the body. And when you do feel like the time is right to lower, you want to stretch those legs out. Give them a little wiggle again, maybe the hips shimmy. And we'll meet up together back into that hands and knees position. So when you feel ready to come up with me, you would walk in, maybe trying at this moment a cat or a child's pose. I'm going to do a little bit of both. I'm going to curl up into cat and then a shift back through the hips here. Maybe that movement forward and back with cat and child's, just to loosen up that low back. Good. Okay. No hurry at all. I'd like to come up to standing next, so we'll all make our way there. Okay, looks good. All right, so as we get up in standing, before we get into any big movements, let's be aware of our feet into the floor. So this is optional, but sometimes you can sense them better with your eyes closed. What I'm doing right now is just noticing how it feels for the weight in my feet and trying to get a sense of symmetry. So equal weight to the front part of the foot, to the heel. Equal weight to the inside aspect of the foot, to the outside aspect of the foot. You can feel those toes are open, not clenched. Make connection into the ground with the toe pads. And you can also feel that there's equal weight from the left foot to the right foot. Good. So just a simple practice of being aware of how those feet feel into the floor there. And we're going to get a little bit of movement going here. Let's bring the arms in the front with the fingers interlaced, palms face in for this. It's simple. Just a little knee bend, push forward, and it feels like you're rounding the back, opening up across the shoulder blades. As you stand up, straighten the legs, pull the elbows back, and you get that squeeze. Go forward and back a couple times here. Press, and then stand and pull back. That's it. There we go. Good. Now this next one takes it a little bit lower, a bit more knee bend, a bit more push forward. And then as you rise up, hands to the backs of the hips and a little more back bend. Good. So bend those knees more, press, yeah, and then back up. And this forward one could morph into like a full hang. So you could reach the hands down like a forward fold, still bent knees. And then when you come up, it's slow, but again, that return to the back extension. And we'll do that a couple more times. Go at your own pace. Just feeling that contrast of the flexion and an extension. Last one for me. Good. And when you finish that last one, you come back into neutral stand. Maybe give it a couple shoulder rolls. Okay. So this one is going to require crossing over of one leg. So if you pick up that right foot and cross it over the left, the ball of the foot, right? We're on a little bit of pressure there. The knee is turning out. We're going to take and reach that left arm up. The right arm could maybe come across the body like this. And we're going to lean over towards that bent knee side. So this amount, well, the amount of lean that you're doing is up to you. You want to make sure it feels balanced. That was great. Good. We're doing that once on the other side now. So cross that left one over, tuck the toes. This time the right arm reaches up. Hand across the body. Maybe you feel a little bit of drawing in with the core. Not a bad thing to do as you lean it over. There, good. And we come out. Excellent. Wiggle those legs a little bit. Let's go into a wider stance now. And we're going to come back into a forward fold. When we do this forward fold here, you're more than welcome to bend the knees a little. Maybe those legs are feeling really tight. Be safe with this. So coming down, and my arms for this one, you could cross the elbows. You could reach for the ground if that's within reach. You could, of course, put your folded blanket under your hands or something if you wanted to prop up. You're noticing if it feels okay to let your upper body hang. So that includes the head and neck here. It's nice to be able to release the neck if that feels safe for you. So that would mean the crown of the head directs downwards. Now this one here, I'd like you to come up whenever you're ready, and your choice of how to return up when that time is right for you. Just sometimes you'll see me heel toe in first with bent knees. It feels pretty easy and safe that way. Good. And when we come up, I've got my hands coming behind my back, interlacing those fingers again, pulling the shoulder blades together, straightening those arms, and maybe a little lift away from the hips here. Good, okay. Get a few big motions there. All right, so this next one is where the wall can come in handy. And I will pretend my curtain back here is my wall. So you want to stand facing your wall, and we're going to place our hands outstretched here, sort of from chest height. So for people who can't see what I'm doing there, out like that. And then we're going to step back with the feet from there and kind of create, I'm going to show again from the side, a 90-degree angle bend. So pretend I have my wall in front. And if you need to bend your knees, go ahead. We want to have a nice flat back. So this is sort of like our downward dog position, but hands at wall. And today you could just stay with this. You might want to even take a little break for a moment to come out of it. I am going to offer up on this downward dog position the option to extend one leg back. So that doesn't have to happen today, but you could lift up one leg and keep those hands outstretched on the wall. I'll show, pretending I've got my wall here. Again, the standing leg doesn't have to be perfectly straight. You can have a little wee knee bend. See if you can keep the hips fairly level if you're trying that leg extension. Arms are fairly stretched out. And if you are doing fine with this, you could try that other side whenever you're ready. Make sure you're breathing with this. And you're welcome to come up and away from that wall as soon as you're done with that. Yeah. Good. All right, let's leave that there. This is where my yoga band can come in handy. You could do this motion without. You could get crafty with holding onto a pant leg or your foot. But in order to make it a little more gentle, the yoga band is helpful. All right, so this one is simply trying to get the band around the foot like this. So there is some balance happening here. So the wall, again, if you have a wall nearby, could be helpful if you feel a little off balance. What we're trying to do is lift this leg up a little bit, and I usually find cinching up on your strap or band is helpful. Oh, is that one long enough for you? Yeah, just. Good job. Okay, so here We're steadying the eyes somewhere, getting into that balance and staying put if you can for another breath or two. That's it. Good. Switch over to that other side right away. One of the things to work towards on this position is a goal of making sure, if I show from the side here, that our back is nice and tall through its posture, so we don't get that rounded position, lifting up, roll the shoulders back and down. This leg doesn't have to be straight either, you know. That's the least of our worries. We're trying to work on posture and balance here. There we go. Let's let that go. And then we're going to go into a thigh stretch standing. So one more thing here, and this band is totally only if you need it. So the idea is you're bending a knee and getting a hold of your ankle, and that feels just a little tricky to reach. The band is helpful sometimes to give you a little bit more length there. This doesn't have to be a balance pose. You could be holding onto your wall, but you could be balanced. If you were balanced and you wanted to work on that again, you could reach your arm forward. It's looking good. Having a couple more moments here on this side. We're not taking it back today. We're just simply staying with that thigh stretch so that knee is right underneath you. There we go. Let's let that one go. And one on the other side now. So again, use that wall if you need, and otherwise the arm can reach forward. While you're here, notice that standing foot. Notice the weight distribution into the foot, how you might be holding through the toes. That one little tip I often give out is to push down into the mound of the big toe, down into the ground. That can help a little bit with our balance. Good, okay, let's let that one go. All right, perfect. We are moving to the floor again into a kneeling position, and we will be needing the wall for this. Well, you could, again, do this without the wall, but I find it's helpful. Now, I'm pulling out my blanket because I do like to have a little extra padding under the knee for this one. So if you want to arrange yourself right now so that the right side of your body is beside the wall, yeah, you can take some time to move your mat even. That's right. And then we find this high kneeling position together. Good. All right, perfect. So with this side, we're going to step the right foot forward. There we go. And we're going to see if we can get into more of a lunge position from here. So usually that's, you might need to bring your hand down for a moment, but you're trying to walk that one knee, the back knee back further, shift that front foot further forward so that more of a lunge position happens. And now our hand is going to be at the wall. So the right hand just supports us with the wall. The left hand reaches up and we lean over towards the wall there. Now, if your low back feels any compression, lean forward more. So if you didn't have a wall, you know, you could just be balanced here, hand on knee. And we come out of it. Maybe shift out of the lunge for a moment. I'd like to do one more little thing here. Now this time what I'm going to do is stay elevated out of it a bit more. I'll bring that left hand to rest on that right knee, and the right arm here, I'm going to walk it behind me on the wall. So stretch it behind me. So I'm turning my body a bit here. And if this feels like there's not much of a sensation, you might want to try getting closer to the wall, or you could go into more of a lunge again with that rotation. So checking in with that. And we hang out maybe another breath or two. There. Yeah, perfect, we did it. Okay, so let's switch it so the other side's to the wall. Left foot is the one that goes forward when you're there. Looks good. First thing is to create a lunge sensation into the hips. So a little bit more walking forward with that front foot. Come into that shift forward through the pelvis. And once you feel that stretch into that back hip and thigh there, remember left hand is at the wall to steady yourself. We reach the right arm up, and then we take that little lean over to the left so that right arm's reaching towards the wall. But of course, you could leave this all out if you needed to. You could just be in lunge, for instance. It is a big posture, like there's a lot to feel there. Shifting out a little bit, if you need a break, don't hesitate. This is the turn now. So I take the right hand across to that left knee, start to turn the body towards the wall, and that left arm reaches behind you on the wall. Usually my head turns to look back at that left hand on this one. There, that's it. If you need a couple more moments, maybe you're just getting through that, go ahead, no rush to come out. We can meet up in sitting position next together. We can still use our walls. So I'm going to lean against my wall, my curtain. Yeah, we have shifting mats all over the place here. Good. All right. So again, this could be done without the wall, but sometimes it's nice to have the back supported with your wall. And I'm going into this open knee position. The other thing that you might find helpful for this one is to fold that blanket underneath your bum a little bit higher to lift up more. So if it feels like you could use that. So if you do have the wall behind you, you could make sure that that lowest part of your spine down by the, closer towards the tailbone is right against it. So sometimes that requires a little shift back. There we go. And let's see how it feels to work with bringing those heels in maybe a little closer to the groin today, and the knees to purposely press downwardly here. Such that we are getting a little more concentration into that opening and into the groin there. Now with the open angle position we have in our lower body, you could choose to stay there, or if it's starting to feel like it's had enough, release your legs in a way that feels comfortable. You know, you could be crisscrossed, you could stretch them out a bit, but we're still leaned back or upright in our posture. And so leaving the lower body out of it, now we're going to go into a lean of the head so that a neck stretch happens here on the one side. Again, if you have the wall, you could keep your head back to the wall if that felt okay on your neck. But I would say more importantly using the wall, it's that the shoulder blades stay connected. And so as you have a little moment to hold here, see if you can keep both shoulders feeling heavy and dropping downwards, especially that one that you're leaning away from. Now I'm noticing, I think a couple people have already leaned to the other side, so maybe we'll switch it over. But this could be one of those times where you're moving more than I'm demonstrating, like you've gone left and right a couple times. That's fine. Really, it's just getting some equal time on both sides. So just the last couple moments here, so switching if you need to again. Good, okay, so I'm just going to let that head hang forward for a moment. Good, and then we'll lift up and maybe roll the shoulders again a couple times. All right, I would like to make this a transition now into lying on our backs with our walls in play again. So the position we're aiming for is legs up the wall, if you know it. I think I'm going to demonstrate from the side for those of you doing this at home, because I don't know if my wall with my curtain is so helpful. But it looks like this. So pretend my legs are stretched up a wall. I'll show from the back here. Landing the heels onto the wall. Your bum does not have to be all the way into the wall. You could certainly have a bit of space there. And if you needed to bend the knees a little, that's no problem. So once you've got yourself arranged in this position, we're going to make sure there's a little bit of space between the feet. We're going to do some hip rolls here. This is it's like a nice one for circulation. All we do is bring the big toes in towards one another and then roll out so the toes roll away. But really it's the whole leg that's rotating here from the thigh. So in and out like that. Your own pace. As you're doing these motions with the legs here, also be aware of how you've landed in your posture through your trunk and into the neck and head. Sometimes we get a little askew, so it's nice to recreate that posture and keep things feeling relaxed through the neck and shoulders. And you can just maybe finish your last one of those swishes there, moving with the legs and come into a neutral position. And we could do a little bit of a pointing through the foot here. So your heel will slide down on the wall a bit. And then opposite. So draw the toes back, flexing there. Maybe try that a couple more times. Or if you notice one of the two is way tighter than the other, you might spend a bit more time on that one. Good. Now we're going to go into a new position here. So this is the one where we're going to take one leg and take that foot and ankle and cross it just past that knee on the other side there. Make sure that you're not on your kneecap. So that side's got the knee turned out a little bit. If this is too hard to get into, you're too close to your wall and you'll want to back up. And then if you have a bit of room to deepen this, what you would do is bend that leg, that's the straight leg here, so it's like you're sliding the heel down the wall until you reach a point of stretch. If you need a couple more moments here on this side, no hurry. I'm going to stretch my legs out and give them a little wiggle at the top there. And you can go ahead and get into that second side as that time feels right for you. Again. Okay, I'm releasing that one and going back to neutral position with the legs stretching up. And maybe bending those knees a little bit, feet on the wall. More gentle here. Some of you might like to try a reach of the arms overhead here while we just linger for a couple more moments. Good, okay, so we need to find our way so that we can stretch out on our mats again. So moving away from your wall. And then reclaiming that lying on your back position here. And we're moving into our final part here of class where we're going to come into a little bit of an extended Savasana. So you're looking for comfort in this moment. Perhaps you need to do a couple little movements or something before you feel ready to lay still. So for instance, windshield wipers or another hug of the knees, stretching out long with the legs and arms. Whatever it is that would feel good to get those last little wiggles out of the body. And then you're looking for a lying position that's warm and comfortable. So traditional is stretched out through the legs, arms at your sides. But maybe you need something under your knees. Or your arms want to be in a slightly different position. Make sure there's a little bit of space through the legs. They're not feeling tight and clenched in. Same with the shoulder blades, a little bit of openness across that upper back. Chin shouldn't be lifted up, drawn in a little bit here. And we will welcome the eyes closed if they're not already. As we settle into this position, we can feel that connection to ground, into the back body. The breaths are moving in and out, nice and gentle, with ease. All the muscles in the joints are softening. Tops of those shoulders relax back. And smooth the expression on the face. And we're going to direct our attention inwardly in a way that we imagine drawing a line down through the center of our body. And we pour all of our attention over into the left half. So the left side of your body. And you're just focusing over to that side and getting a sense of what you feel and notice. The qualities with the left side. Maybe if there's certain body parts or areas that stand out or call out with sensation or feeling. And then feel a breath come and go. And begin to shift your attention over to that right side of your body, however that looks to you. What are you aware of as you feel the right side? Noticing any differences or similarities. And then again, another breath to bring you back to center. As you feel your whole body, you're getting a sense of heaviness. See if you can create a feeling of weighted heaviness through the body, through the limbs and the torso and the head. You can really feel that weight through with the pull of gravity, sinking. And then welcome a breath again. Feel that breath come and go. And start to shift into bringing a quality of lightness or spaciousness into the body. So feeling that contrast, opening, and maybe even it feels like a little bit of floating. And then welcome that breath again. And as you breathe in and out, see if you can feel that the breath comes into the center of your being, towards the core of your body, wherever that center is for you. And you're just simply resting your awareness there for a couple moments. It's like an anchor to that internal presence, to the essence of who you are. And then let that awareness expand out from the center, shifting out through to the limbs, and the face and head again, feeling the whole body lying, and entering some movement into the fingers and toes. So starting that little wiggling action here. Maybe take a couple swallows. If the eyes feel like opening at this point, you could welcome that in. Or take a few more moments. And I'm going to start to make some movements to helping myself return back up to sitting slowly. So usually I'll bring the knees in, take a little stretch that way first. But you can go however it works for you at your own pace here. Good. Okay, I see Zoom people up, and we're back. Okay, well, I think I'll leave it there, keep it simple here at the end. Let me know if there's any questions to you guys. Thank you for coming out. Namaste.